Hey you may want to pop into my wee boudoir tonight and spend some time a-talking. You know, just to pass the time. That's what I've got for you here on This Much Is True. By the way, I'd love to hear from you. So comments below or thismuchistrue@protonmail.com. It's so important that you communicate with me. I put a premium on communication. Couple of bulletin points for tonight. You might like to stick around because in a moment I'm going to show you an exciting invention that I invented. It may be of use to you. We'll also be talking about car crashes again. Why? Because Nigel, one of our regular listeners, decided to contact me at 10 to 2 in the morning. Bit of a night owl is our Nigel, relating an incident from his past involving motor vehicles, as we say in Ireland. And we're also going to talk about, but first, the Eurovision Song Contest. Yes, indeed, Ireland has gotten back into the final. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, look, one of those spammy things is after popping up on my PC here. I shall get rid of it. So yeah. Anything else? No, I think that's pretty much what we'll explore tonight. My invention. What is it? Well, if you speak and your teeth don't show, I've got the cure for you. Hi everybody, good evening and welcome to the show. You think it'll sell, folks? Yeah? Tom Cruise, eat your heart out. Mind you, Tom Cruise's, such a possessive. Tom Cruise's teeth are kind of pearly white, not bath scum yellow. But I think maybe I should take that into Dragon's Den or Shark Tank in the States and say, listen, I have a patent on this. Everyone's going to, because there's some actors don't show their teeth while they smile. Not many. I think I fall into that category. Let's try for size again. Yeah, guys, you're going to have a really good time tonight. Oh, nearly took the nose off myself. The Eurovision Song Contest, or travesty, as I like to call it these days. Yes, we're back in with them and it, or us. Bambithug wishes to be identified as so. They are the pronouns. They and them, I think. And, yeah, she screams the song more so than sings it. But she's gotten through. For the first time in 28 years, Ireland has gotten through, having had a long pedigree chum of winners, ranging from Dana right through to 2 times for Johnny Logan. Twice even. See, they say that in advertising. 2 times. They never say twice. 2 times sounds more impressive. And of course there was a few more singers as well. I can't really remember. Well, I can see their faces, but sure, you know yourself. We were awash with winners at one point. And so we find ourselves doing a demonic thing for the rest of Europe. That's what it sure looks like. Personally, I just think it's a young lady who's a bit confused and has a liking for demonic makeup and, yeah, bake-off foil, essentially. She does a lot of moves and she hangs out with a guy when she's doing the dance who, in Dublin, we would say, he has a horn on his head. I think it's supposed to be a devil she does this dance with. She got the whole pentagram thing going on as well. I'm above it. I think back to a girlfriend I had many moons ago. Oh, God, it would have been 1990, I think. And do you remember In Bed with Madonna? She was so outrageous at the time. Mind you, she's a bit of a comely maiden now and has definitely gone off the boil, although she likes to still put it out there when she can, whatever is left of her. Personally, I like the Cherish era. Cherish the love. Yeah, she wasn't as much as a pop heifer as she is these days. Oh, that's very sexist. Well, look, anyway, there was this movie playing and she was being very much the temptress. In fact, she was into what she called pressing people's buttons. I'd say it's been a while since her old button's been pressed. But yeah, that's what she was into. Outrageous, shocking people. And part of the movie was largely her on a bed, surrounded by her black and white dancers and kissing the faces, or wearing the faces off them, as we say in Ireland. As well as chasing, with no success if I remember, Antonio Banderas, the actor. And she was a real girlo, you know, nothing, you know, nothing was out of bounds with Madonna back then. And we left the cinema, and I was a bit shocked. In fact, we were a bit shocked. But my girlfriend at the time, who was very kind of stoic Protestant, dour, she said, "I've only one thing to say about that." Yeah. And I think, you know, there's only one thing I can say about bambithug. Yeah. You know, there's so many people, say, my age, and they'll, you know, they literally take all this to heart, and they'll say, "Where are we going? And what are we showing the children? And da-da-da-da." And you can take all that stuff, negativity, and you can smear yourself in it. Or alternatively, you can just say, bambithug. Yeah. Good luck to her anyway. Good luck to her. And, oh, good luck to them. And they. Now then, you might remember the last episode I was talking about a car crash that I experienced in the 1980s. And during the wee small hours of the morning, Nigel, who's a bit of a night owl, decided he was going to enhance the story by telling me he identified with an aspect of my story, which was, well, I'll tell you now what it was. Listen on. It says, I'm not even going to attempt to do the Brummie accent, Nigel. By the way, hello to Tara and Joan and, of course, Susan. Susan, you put me right on the camera being out of sync. I fixed it. So it no longer looks like a Kung Fu 1970s movie. I'm going to kill you. Will I? No, I won't. I won't do that. But that means I'm going to lose my logo and my videos. But I'll fix it. I'll get around to it because it's a codex issue. See, it's fine when it's on its own, like now. But when I splice a video in, or I have to use a third-party piece of software. Anyway, it's getting too technical. So for now, we're in sync, yeah? Good. Back to Nigel. He says on WhatsApp to me, similar story. September 1978, and leaving this job we were at. Me and about 3 other lads, same age, were walking on the pavement on a bend, walking up a hill. God, I'm going to have to stiffen myself for this, Nigel, if you pardon the expression. We were talking amongst ourselves when, for some strange reason, we all stopped and looked at a Morris Mariner. That's what it says here, Nigel, but that's predictive text for you. It's obviously minor. A Morris Minor going past us. Everything had suddenly gone into, and this is the bit he identifies from my story, slow motion. As we were looking at this car on this right-hand bend, suddenly the door slowly opened. Suddenly, it's not a contradiction. It suddenly slowly opened. Anyway. And this young girl very slowly fell out and hit the road. She tumbled over 3 or 4 times. Arse over tit. That's my contribution to the drama, not Nigel's. Rolling on the road. Then suddenly everything all speeded up to normal speed, and she quickly got up and ran screaming to her mother, who had now just stopped the car and was getting out. Were they having a row? A la Princess Grace of Monaco and Princess Stephanie. Do you remember there was speculation? If you don't remember, Princess Grace was killed on the nasty right-hand bends of roads in Monaco, and she was in a sports car with her daughter. There was speculation they were having a row, and that's how the princess met her end. It wasn't the first one to be killed in a car crash, eh? Okay, I'm getting out of hand here, haven't I? So, where were we? Yes, so I wonder, was that girl that Nigel saw having a row with her mum, or else was she doing a George Michael? Do you remember he fell out of a moving car? He did. About 70 miles an hour it was going. Nearly done for him. He too went arse over tit. So, yeah, Nigel says that it was very spooky, and he never forgot how they all had stopped talking and looked at this car. It was almost like there was a premonition. Hang on, something's just gone off in my pants here. I know it's a bit of a rookie thing, but I got to keep an eye on business. Anyway, it's not, it's spam. There was no noise. It was all silent for those brief few seconds. Another time, oh, there's more. Another time was when the missus crashed her mini car into a hedge. The seatbelt had grabbed me in the passenger seat as we came to a sudden instant stop. I remember the cigarette I was smoking came out of me hand and hit the windscreen, then bounced back, spinning in slow motion past me head. I remember watching it going through the air. Then it all speeded up again for Nigel, and you panic, you see, he says to me, trying to get out of the car. He panicked because there was a lit cigarette, just gone by his head. So he panicked, tried to get out of the car in case it catches fire. My door wouldn't open because of a tree. So I had to boot out the missus so we could get out her side. How am I still here, he asks. Oh, well, I'll tell you, you don't have to ask where Nigel would be during the Titanic disaster. Yeah, he'd be dressed up as a woman, pushing his way, shouldering his way past women and children, getting onto the rescue boat. Very gallant, kicking his missus out of the way so he could escape. Thank you for that, Nigel. Keep them coming, everyone. I need contributions here. Susan, Tara, Joan, Jerry, Mick, I'd like to hear from you. Have you got anything to say? If so, all right, comments below. Not too fond of those. Comments below if you have to, but Proton Mail, that's the one to get me at. This much is true at protonmail.com. I shall leave it up to you. Now, folks, here is me piece de resistance. Yeah. Hang on till I grab hold of my mouse, if you pardon the expression. Does anyone remember this? Ooh, bit of minge. Ah, yes. The fucking tales of the unexpected. I still watch them, you know. They're on some kind of a channel and I record them because I like the simpler times. I loved Lord Peter Wimsey and I loved Tales of the Unexpected. Remember, the opening scene would always be Roald Dahl sitting in a room with a lovely raging fire going. How many times do we see a raging fire these days, huh? And he'd have like a little board like across the arms of his nice comfy chair, and he'd relate to you some tale of derring do, or more likely mystery, with a twist at the end. Hence, Tales of the Unexpected. I've two favourite episodes. I'll briefly mention one at the end, but the one that I loved, I can't remember what it was called, but here was the scenario. There's this guy, and himself and his missus just aren't seeing eye to eye, particularly because she has ferocious, piercing, dagger-like laser beam eyes. She has horrific eyes when she's arguing with him and accusing him of all kinds of things, of being useless, of not being a good provider. And he's getting fed up with this. Oh yeah, he has had it with the Cardigan Club. He wants out. And meanwhile, back on the ranch, he finds affection in a bit on the side. She's beautiful. She's nymph-like and demure and all those beautiful things that make you want to give her one, basically. There's one slight situation, and that is, unfortunately, she's visually impaired. I think she was actually blind in it. So his bit on the side is blind, but he plans to get rid of his old boiler of a missus. And how he's going to do that is he's going to rig the brakes on his wife's car. That's how he's going to do. And he's send her off on an errand somewhere, and then the old battle axe, the old pop heifer, will try and jam on the brakes, and she'll be a bit like Nigel. She'll be trying to save her life. But in the interim, his girlfriend goes to a consultant, a surgeon guy, and he has got some good news, that there's a revolutionary operation, if she wants to take part in it, that just might restore her sight. So it's all happening, folks. So the L one, the big old boiler, I know, I'm a bit sexist, but you know, she's rough, she's gnarly. I think you get the picture. She's bombing down the road, and she fails to negotiate a bend, and it's accentuated by the fact that there's no brakes on. There's no brakes on her jammer, as she's killed, right? Meanwhile, the guy's at home, kind of rubbing his hands, going, right, she's definitely brown bread, I reckon, after the way I rigged the brakes. His girlfriend knocks on the front door, and she has her head down. And this, by the way, this all happens, sorry, this is about a week after the wife is killed. The girlfriend comes to visit, and she's her head down, and she said, "Surprise, darling, I've had the operation. It's an eye transplant. It works." And what has she got? But his wife's eyes. I love that. That was definitely a tale of the unexpected. And the other one I'll just briefly touch upon is one called, I remember the episode, I think it was from 1980, Tales of the Unexpected, titled Royal Jelly. And this was starring Timothy West. He's still knocking around, but he was playing the part of a guy who was big into honey, like cultivating bees and everything. And the thing is, if you look at him in real life, he is kind of pointy. He's a bit of a bee. No, I'm not doing the Chinese thing. No, I'm not going there. But I'm doing he's a bit of a pointy face. And who does he have for company? Not the woman he married, who was Prunella Scales out of, oh, darling, Sybil, out of Fawlty Towers. No, playing the part of his wife is the voluptuous, gorgeous sex symbol of the 1970s, Susan George. Who remembers a one-hit wonder? I can't remember the name of it or the band, but the chorus went like this. I'll buy myself a yacht and sail away for a year with Susan George for company and plenty of beer. Susan George was very well stacked. She's still knocking around. She was beautiful. And she's there, and all as I remember is at the end, he basically, because he's consuming all this royal jelly and he's advising everybody and all and sundry to do so as well, but she goes to talk to him and he looks up and he's actually buzzing. He's actually turned into a bee. Big fucking buzzly bee. Bzzz, yes, darling. Bzzz. Loses a lot in translation, doesn't it? I think I shall take my leave of you for tonight. I have a nice pair of navy trousers. You might have flashed my arse there earlier. They're nice. I'm too fat around the middle for somebody who's in the condition that I'm at. So I'm going to have to really, really look at that. Because essentially, if you've got that gut, folks, boys especially, if you've got that gut going on, and I shouldn't after what I was through. Here he is talking about his health again. But if you have that, you are essentially diabetic. So I am going to go to war on this. Late and all in the day as it may be, I'm going to go to war on the stomach. And there's things you can do, chair exercises. Anyone seen those? Where you do this crap. I need to do one for my neck as well. Okay, speaking of the 1970s, remember, get in contact again. This much is true at protonmail.com or comments below. Please involve yourself in the programme. But speaking of the 1970s, do you remember sometimes they would just end a show? Like it could be a Starsky and Hutch or a Kojak episode or whatever. And they'd end it kind of or they'd freeze frame the picture. So I'd say, and that was amazing. And then he came through and he flipped around and he landed right on his wheels. The end. Remember the 1970s?